So, for those of you that have already finished the exercises, we hope that it was clear and it really bring forward this practical analysis when using the value chain logic. Now we are going to move on to the last stage of our model, which are the new methodologies for collaboration, co-creation, competition, and collaborative economy. We're gonna have a quick look into all these different aspects and more to present you an overview of what is possible and what has been done in recent years. The first concept that we have is co-production. Co-production is involving the final user, in this case the tourist or the local, in the development of the entire service or product. So from the basis when we are identifying the problem that we are trying to respond to answer, to the final stage when we are building either the accommodation or the service or the experience that we are providing, to have input at every stage from the final user and from being the tourist or the local. But co-production can be seen as a spectrum, okay? So when we talk about co-production, is because at every stage the final user is present. And it's not only at the final stage, but if we are doing different services and different products afterwards, we'll be also involving them. So this is more of organizational mechanism. But nonetheless, we can have different types of participation. The first one, as the name says, is participation, which is just to consult with one of the actors, one being the final user or partners at one stage. Okay, so we have a question, we can do a focus group or some other activity and involve them. So that is participation. Then we have co-design, which is when people who develop the service products or projects work with people who are the beneficiaries on a specific moment in time. So co-design is a part of co-production, but the difference is that while co-production involves them in every stage, co-design in only a specific one. And then we finally have co-creation, which is the concept more similar to co-production. But the difference, as I was mentioning, is that co-production is a transformative tool. So it will be used throughout the organization, no matter the product, no matter the service. While co-creation can be used to build a specific service or a specific product and then not be used anymore by the organization. And that's the main difference, and it's a new way of cooperation. There are four essential components for good implementation of co-production. The first is culture, because since we are bringing outsiders, the beneficiaries, the final user of our service or product, we need to make sure that the workers, even ourselves, know what co-production means and are able to feel available and confident to work with the final user, the beneficiaries. The other one is structure. So there's indeed a need to have a framework that allows the implementation of co-production. Then we have practice, which is to provide training in co-production. Make sure that if we are doing a workshop to involve the tourists or the locals, there are activities that make sense, that the one facilitating these activities know what they are doing and are comfortable with. And then the last stage is review, which is monitoring how the work is carried out and evaluating the results and impacts. The review, it comes from a main conclusion, because co-production is not an end on itself. So we are not involving the final user at each step just for the sake of it. No, we want to get the result, we want to get data, and for that it's important to review the process throughout. So after seeing it more, what co-production is and the different spectrum of co-production, we're gonna look into it more in terms of only the tourism sector, because co-production is used throughout all sectors and industries, but we can analyze it more in terms of tourism. So we'll first look into the benefits. There's more bigger opportunity to have positive customer experiences. They are involved in all the stages, and we can better respond to their needs. There's also higher customer engagement because through advertisement and through involving them since the early stage is also a seal of quality and of engagement of the customer. There's higher loyalty regarding the customer because they have been present throughout the development of the entire service or product. We also involve the competencies of our employees because co-production entails a lot of different hard and soft skills that they wouldn't otherwise be able to train and to learn. There's a higher employee engagement, improved employee loyalty, and more important is that there's a lot of moments of feedback and learning opportunities. As you know, one of the main problems when starting a new business and businesses during the first 5 years, 60% in Portugal, but around 50% in the European Union go bankrupt, and this is no different for the tourist sector. And one of the reasons is because the product is not what we call product market fit. We didn't see with the customer if the product is good, if there's a need for that, and if we do that via co-production, we make much more sure that the product in itself has a clientele, has opportunities to be economically feasible and brings more profitability. These are results from different cases, okay? So this is not only in theory, it happens in practice. With this being said, we looked at the benefits, now we look into the barriers. There are external barriers, which are the conflict of interest, the empowerment of consumer, the lack of acceptance from customers, because this is also education process, not only for the company, but also for the customers involved, and also sometimes mistrust between the customer and the service or product provider, the company. And then are also internal barriers. One of them is the cost and resources. Although co-production tends to be really cost effective, there are indeed costs and resources that need to be applied. A lack of trust on the consumer. There's a lot of time organizational resistance to this type of activities, lack of communication, lack of leadership, and more important, we are taking a lot of the decision power from the manager, from the CEO, the president of the company, to the employees and to the customers that are helping producing the service and product. Moving on, in terms of new methodologies of cooperation, we have what it is called the competition, which is a hybrid joining both cooperation and competition. And if we think about that, it's really usual in tourism, and that's why there's also sometimes difficulty in having these networks, is because we are cooperating with someone that is providing the same service as us or the same product as us. So there's really this paradox where we are both competing and wanting to cooperate with our competition, with the auto next door, with the accommodation on the other street, with the tourist attraction, also in our locality. So these can be analyzed a lot more in depth, and that's what we would suggest to look into it, the references that we use, because there's an entire world out there in terms of this paradox between competition and cooperation in tourism. We just wanted to mention these 5 dimensions that result from competition, which is the exploiting, exploring, bridging, sharing, and boundary spanning. And then lastly look into the collaborative economy and tourism. Collaborative economy is an economy that is built on different distributed networks of connected individuals and communities, and not on centralized institutions, transforming how we can produce, consume, finance, and learn. Basically, instead of the service being provided by one singular institution, the individuality, the flexibility that the consumer has is much bigger. It's not centralized. We can see this example in Uber, for example, in Airbnb. So people right now can put their own homes on the market for people, for tourists to go and get accommodation, and so on and so on. Basically, what we are looking here is into different ways of that tourism can use collaborative economy, and for that there are some questions that can be asked to understand which platforms we can use. For example, where to eat. There's a lot of applications that can provide services relating to that main information. We have where to stay, and gave the example of the Airbnb, but there's also couch surfing and a lot of different apps that give the consumer the opportunity to choose besides the institutionalized service and products, where to exchange money, where to find friends and support. There's about activities, apps or platforms that give the possibility for the people traveling to know where can they find different people to meet up. There's trip together, and there's a lot more. You can explore it themselves if you want to see what's best out there. This is more to just provide some examples, and then you can also look into these opportunities in terms of how to travel, how to learn while traveling, how to exercise, and how to get information. And this part in how to get information is huge right now. We have Trivago, we have Booking, we have a lot of different apps that provide this type of information and make this medium between the enterprises and the consumer. So that's basically it regarding our model. We looked at the different definitions of rural networks. We looked at the benefits of for local development regarding rural tourism. Then we made the exercise and understood better what is the tourism value chain, and lastly we looked really briefly into different ways of cooperation. If you want to know more about this, you can look at the different case studies that you find in your screen. You can access them via our website or via the direct link, and they are all related to examples of connecting to collaborations and communities. This is, you can also find here all the bibliography and case studies that we use to create this learning course, this model specifically, and that is it. There's only space left to thank you for participating in this model. We hope that you enjoy and you don't lose the next model, which is model 7, environmental sustainability, which is also really important and really good to build this all-encompassing strategy. Thank you.